No engine would recommend this, but Tal plays it and the boat catches fire. Let's see how Tal makes it. Here, white play the move d4, black play with knight f6. Here, black is Michael Tal. So, let's see how he play the game and let's learn the lesson from it. c4, c5, d5, e6. Right here, he plays the game with a nice opening. Knight c3, e takes d5, c takes d5, and d6. It's a solid position for black to keep the pawns on d6 and c5. White plays e4, controlling center. g6. Here we know that this bishop cannot move wisely in the diagonal, right? So bishop e7 is not a great move because of this crumbled bishop. Here it does not have the good square. He need to go to f6, but the knight is placed, so he has another idea to play g6 and bring the bishop to g7 and give a life to him, right? So knight f3, bishop g7, bishop d3. These are the general developing moves to their natural squares. So castles. Here Tall plays the move which is slightly inaccuracy, right? Knight a6. Here white can play the move bishop a6, ba6, which is a doubled pawn for black, but it does not make any worse changes in the position because it is in the corner, right? So it's an equal position for black and it's slightly plus for white. He can have the ideas like to play rook e1 and play e5, or you can wait by h3, or you can play queen c2. There are so many ideas, right? Here white play the move knight d2. He has an idea to bring to c4, but it will be met with b5, right? So black play knight b4, attacking the d3 bishop, bishop e2, rook e8, e3, which attacks the b4 knight, knight a6 goes back, rook e1, knight c7. Yeah, as you are a beginner, you need to see that he's playing the knight for the last 3 to 4 moves, right? He first played the knight a6, then knight b4, then he played rook e8, okay, then knight a6, then knight c7. So he's making the move of 4 by the knight, so it's not recommended for chess players to play, right? He's a great player, he can play, but as a beginner and the intermediate player, these are the things we need to avoid, right? We need to develop this bishop instead of playing the knight 4 times. So let's see what white continues here. Queen c2, rook b8. He is an idea to play b5, right? a4. I think he would play a6. No, he plays the move b6, just makes a solid pawn chain, right? Knight b5, a6, knight c7, queen c7, just exchange the knights, right? Then rook a2. He has a idea to bring the rook to e2, I think, because by playing b3 in the future he can bring the rook to d2 or e2, right? So he played the more rook a2, then queen e7, f3, knight h5. He is going to occupy the f4 square, right? It's an juicy square and it is an outpost for knight. White play the move knight f1, just safeguards the f4 square, right? Black play f5. Yeah, he is going to play the counter attack, right? If you take, I will take with the bishop and attacks your queen. So he has a counter play. Bishop d3, f4. He closes the position, right? Then he will play g5 or h6 to make a solid chain and close the position, right? He has this nice diagonal which is controlled by the black bishop. So g4, bishop d4 check, intermediate move, king h1, queen h4. Yeah, here's the complication starts. So we are going to see the roller coaster game, so get ready for it, right? Queen h4 was played just to attack the rook on e1. He just attacks the rook, right? You can't take this because you will lose your rook. Simply, yeah, simple tactics. Let's see what white plays. he play the move rook e2. He just safeguards his rook. So let's see what black plays. He plays the move queen h3, which is a miss because he thinks he need to attack the f1 knight. But here he can play the another brilliant move, which is bishop takes g4. Yeah, you are saying that it's a brilliant move. Why? Because if you take with this pawn, I will play the move f3. There is a no square for rook in the king side, right? These three squares are occupied. If you play the move rook e2, then you will lose this queen takes g4, right? If you think you can stop the mate on g1 by knight g3, then knight takes g3, h takes g3, queen h3, rook h2, then queen g3. It's a tremendous position for black and worst position for white to defend, right? He can play like b4, but there is a sticky mate, right? Queen g1 checkmate. So you need to stop that mate by playing queen to d1. Then these two rooks will take part in the party, right? He will play rook f8 and going to play f2. So there are many complications. So here let's see what white plays after the move queen h3, right? Here black play queen h3 and white continue with rook g2. Just defended this knight with his bishop and defended this diagonal by playing rook g2, right? So black continue with queen f3, which is a mistake according to the engine, right? Knight d2 attacks the queen. Here black continue with queen e3, knight f1, right, attacking the queen, queen f3, then knight d2. They repeated the position, and here black play the move bishop takes c4. Yeah, it's the complete blunder in this game played by Tal. Yeah, the god known for the sacrifices the queen as blunder, right? It's a complete blunder according to the engine. But as a human, we think that if knight takes f3, bishop takes f3, then white can play the move like rook to a3 and take this bishop off to a6 or somewhere and bring the rook to the party, and we will join this queen and this bishop also, right? So let's see what here white plays after the move bishop f3 h4, which is a mistake, right? Here black brings the another rook to the party, rook f8, bishop e2, which is the next blunder we are seeing here. Why? Because he thinks that he is going to take this rook and play f3, right? If this happens, it's a clearly winning position for white because he has a queen, but he thinks that and he calculates that, then he misses this. He plays bishop e2, then the incoming is knight g3. Yeah, this square is occupied, so you can't take the knight with the rook. So the king h2 need to be played. Yeah, it's forced. Now bishop takes g2, and if king takes g2, then knight takes e2. Yeah, you can't take with a queen because of f3. Simply you are a rook and knight for your queen, right? This rook is for this rook and this bishop is for this bishop. Rook and knight for the queen and this passed pawn also. So let's see how white continued here. Queen takes e2, he played f3, queen f3, rook f3, king f3. He sacrifices the queen and make this endgame, right? Here both of them seems to be equal, but it's completely winning for black according to engines. So let's analyze how the engine is calculating, right? Black has 6 pawns, right? White has a 5 pawns majority, right? The black has a majority. Then this bishop is active, this bishop is passive. 1 point for black, right? This rook is passive. This rook is going to be played to f8 in the next move, right? After this move, this rook becomes active and we gives the another point to black. So black has a 3-point majority and white has -2, right? His bishop is weak and his rook is weak and he also a pawn down. So by calculating this, engine gives that it's plus 3 for black and minus 3 for white. So here white continue the game with king g3, bishop e5, king g2, bishop f4. Yeah, now he trades the bad bishop, this good bishop. If he takes, then he can bring out this rook at the end of the game, but rook takes e4. It's completely a 2 pawn majority for the black. So here black will win the game smoothly in the rook endgame. So this is how Tal win the game. So the lessons we are learned from this game would be develop the pieces correctly and don't do the wrong sacrifices at the right time, because this bishop takes g4 is the worst sacrifices, but he turned the game into himself because of the blunder of bishop e2, right? Your opponent would not play this blunders often, so sacrifices the piece at the right time and for the right purpose. Don't sacrifice that. I'm also the player who is known as Tall. You can take inspiration of him, but don't legitimately sacrifices the pieces. Coordinate the pieces and